Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, Advice to Think Twice. My name is Monica and I'm here with your daily advice for April 12th, 2017. Thank you for joining me. And if you're new to my channel, this is a general reading looking at the energies that surround us at this time and what we need to know about these energies so that we may use them for our highest good. Since we're looking at energies, these will play out in different ways for different people. So I always encourage everyone to keep an open mind and take away the message of the reading and then apply it to your own situation if you feel that it speaks to that. And I am planning to do like an intro for the dailies, because for those of you who've been with me for a long time, you're probably sick and tired of hearing the same introduction to every single daily video. So I am planning to do an intro. And if you know the information in the introduction to the video, then you can just skip it to the daily reading, and then anyone else who's new can have the information they need in the beginning of the video. But okay, let's jump in and see what we have here. So it looks like our message for today is encouraging us to double check what we think and how we feel about a certain situation to make sure that it's coming from the right place and not our ego consciousness. So the first card that we have is the Four of Cups, and this is the influence of the past on our current situation. The Four of Cups, and then in today's energy we have the Three of Pentacles, and you know it's important, that's why I'm showing you all the cards first, and then the Tower as the energy that we're moving into tomorrow with. So here's what we're looking at. In the past, we have been doing things on our own. In the past, we have been in control of what goes on for, as much as possible. What we said we could do, or we were able to tell people how we want certain things done and so on and so forth, and they would have to do it. And it does get to a point where we're just not happy. It could be that maybe we're too much of a perfectionist, and so we're always looking at the details, and we're always seeing things that we can work on, and we're always seeing things that we can improve upon. It could be that we're just putting a lot of pressure on ourselves, that we have to be great, we have to be perfect, we have to set an example, or whatever the reason is. But we do get to a place of emotional exhaustion with the Four of Cups, and there's people who try to help us. That's the Ace of Cups in the background here. And there's people who are trying to help us, who are genuine, but we refuse to look at them, we refuse to let them help, we refuse to let them in, because of all the pressure that we've been putting on ourselves. Okay, and that's what the Four of Cups represents for me in today's reading. A different option would be to work well with other people. The Three of Pentacles is very much a team player kind of card. It is working well with other people. It is being part of the team. It is letting other people help. It is us offering to help other people because we have the same goal, and so we will grow together and we will reach that goal together. The Three of Pentacles is definitely where we focus more on the practical reason of why we're there, as opposed to our feelings or our egos, okay, which the Four of Cups can talk about sometimes. And so with the Three of Pentacles, it's about the goal, it's about the common goal, okay, and the fact that we acknowledge that each of us has something to bring to the table, we are respectful towards one another, we hear each other out, and then we come up with a plan to move forward where everyone can get to do their part and make a positive contribution to us reaching that goal together as a team. And that's just a different approach to what we may be used to with the Four of Cups. There is a time and a place for everything. Some people are team players, some people prefer to work alone, but the message is we are asked to figure out what the best course, what the best approach is, course of action or approach is, depending on what we're dealing with. Sometimes we will have the opportunity to work by ourselves and do things exactly the way we want them done, and other times we would benefit more from working with other people, and it's just a matter of deciding which approach is best depending on what we're dealing with, as opposed to, getting stubborn and going off track with what we're trying to work on, and focusing on what we don't like and what we're not happy about, as opposed to just changing our approach, opening up, letting other people help in whichever way they can, and then moving forward and reaching our goals that way. Again, there's a time and a place for everything, but it's time to break patterns with the Tower. It's time to break those patterns because they're holding us back. Our ego consciousness is holding us back when it comes to this kind of a situation, because we will always think, that's how our ego consciousness talks to us, like we're better than others, or others can't do the job the way we could do the job, or others are not really paying attention, we are paying attention, or we have the right view, we have the right idea, and other people would just mess it up. And that is the ego consciousness speaking, that is the ego speaking. And again, there's a time and a place for everything. This is not saying that we shouldn't trust ourselves, and this is not saying that we shouldn't be confident within ourselves. However, when it becomes unnecessarily difficult to reach our goals, it's time to take a step back and just retrace our steps and see where there may be a pattern, whether it's a certain type of behavior or a certain mindset that is now holding us back from making progress or reaching our goals. And for today's reading, it is about working alone versus working with other people. And it is a tricky or a sensitive situation, because we may think, oh, if I ask for help, that means I can't do it alone, that means I'm not good enough, or whatever. That is the ego speaking, okay? It does not mean that. There's a time and a place for everything. Sometimes we can do things on our own, and sometimes we can work with other people. And that's not to say that we're not doing something right. It is to say that this is a blessing, that we have other people to help, that we have people we can rely on when we need them to, that we have people who are there to help when we ask them to, and so on and so forth. So it's about how we see that situation. Not seeing it as a failure, a personal failure, but seeing it as, what? I've got a lot of different resources at my disposal. This I can do by myself, and this I can ask my friends and family for help with, or my coworkers, because they're there and they've been trying to help me. And I know they're paying attention, and I know they're going to do the best job they possibly can. May not be exactly the way I would do things, but as long as we reach that goal, so once again, having that practical approach, as opposed to being too much of a perfectionist, having that practical, realistic, down-to-earth approach is how we see those breakthroughs with the Tower. And our guidance card is 31, the Goblin, and this is about the wounded human ego. So it is, people behaving like children, people letting their egos dictate what they do and what they say and how they think in a situation, focusing on, our hurt feelings perhaps, or on the things that just don't make us happy, because, you can see that in both these cards, the Four of Cups and the Goblin, they've got their arms crossed. And that's like someone saying, I'm not playing, I don't want to do this, I'm not happy with this. However, is that really the point? Once again, there's a time and a place for everything. I'm not saying that our feelings are not important. No, definitely not. However, what is the goal? That's the goal. Okay, how am I going to get to it? Can I actually, realistically, tackle it by myself? Or can I ask the people close to me for support on this? And it's not about thinking, but what will that say about me? That I'm not good enough, that I can't do things by myself, that I can't do that, and I'm not that, and whatever and whatever. That is the ego, and that's not the point. Okay, indulging our egos is not going to lead someplace good and positive, and it's definitely not going to lead someplace productive, okay, or constructive. So, and this could be, something that we're dealing with today, or this is something that we're noticing, that we're seeing today in someone else around us. And if this is the case, it's just an opportunity for us to learn and to grow, to understand, that perhaps that person is too much in their feelings, their egos are dictating what they're thinking and how they're behaving, and maybe it's not about us taking things personally, in other words, indulging our egos and our hurt feelings, but maybe it's about looking at them and trying to come up with a different way of offering support to them that's not going to hurt their feelings, and some people react very badly just when you offer to help, because they immediately jump to, are you saying I can't do this? Are you saying I'm not good enough? Are you saying I can't handle this? And so on and so forth. And so they react very badly, very violently perhaps, and so it's just a matter of finding the right words or the right approach or the right attitude, where we can offer help or we can offer assistance to that individual without it sounding like we're passing judgment on them. And I have this friend who he just does not take advice. He knows best and he's just not willing to listen. He will not ask for help. He will not show you that he's weak. He will not let you help or anything. And so we've had various conversations on that. I realized that I really cannot get through to him with a classic approach, so to speak. So I just had to get creative and come up with a whole new approach with the tower to talk to him and help him without him knowing that I'm helping, so to speak. So it was a situation of a matter of me talking at him while him pretending to ignore me, but actually I know he was listening because I saw that he kind of incorporated the advice into what he was doing in a way that worked for him. But I was able to give him advice in a situation where I knew he was struggling, and so even if he didn't flat out ask for help, I talked about it as if he never asked for help and just said, this is what I would do, and that and that and that, and not really being very careful with my words so that help was nowhere in there. He didn't like the word help, and it wasn't about him in terms of, you're not doing this, you should be doing this, and you should be doing that, and so on and so forth. And it was definitely not a situation where it was clear that I was trying to help him. Okay, so it's just, hopefully that makes sense. But it's just coming up with new approaches to be there for people if they're dealing with their egos at the time and they cannot see beyond that. They will calm down eventually if we take a different approach. They expect to be challenged, they expect to be pushed, they expect to continue to deal with people trying to help, which is just making them feel bad. And so when we just take a different approach completely, they let their guard down because they don't see that coming. And maybe, just maybe, we can get some advice in there for them to process and help them through whatever they're dealing with. And if this is us, once again, there's a time and a place for everything. If we're trying to do something by ourselves and it's just not working, then the message is, okay, take a step back and see if there's a different approach we can take here. Not getting lost in the ego where, oh my God, I'm failing, I can't do this. We can't do everything by ourselves all the time. It's just the nature of life and who we are as people. We're supposed to grow, we're supposed to evolve, we're not perfect. And so it's a matter of taking a step back from our egos. When we start to think that way or feel that way, it's about taking a step back and saying, no, I need to be practical here, I need to be realistic. I've been trying by myself, this is not happening, or it's not going the way I would like it to. So maybe I can talk to someone, maybe I can get some insight, maybe I can get some assistance, because it is a blessing that I have who to go to for that. Okay, so again, it's about mindset, it's about perspective. Just because we ask for help doesn't mean we're anything less or we're not capable. It just means we need assistance at that time, and that's okay. Excuse me. So yeah, for today, it does look like having to decide which approach is better. or more efficient in a situation, if it is us working by ourselves in whatever the situation is, or if it is taking a step back and using all the resources we have at our disposal in terms of, okay, I can do this by myself, but I can ask them to help me with this. And that's how we break patterns with the Tower, and that's how we see breakthroughs and a new way of being that is a lot better for us, and it's definitely a smoother road ahead with this kind of approach. So a down-to-earth perspective with whatever we're dealing with today, especially if we find ourselves feeling, hurt, that things are not going our way, or especially starting to think demeaning things, or things that are, less about ourselves. Like we're not good enough, and we can't do this, and we're not capable enough, and we don't know enough, and we can't do this, and so on and so forth. Know that this is the ego talking, and it's just a matter of putting a stop to that kind of thinking, taking a step back and just looking at things practically. There is something that can be done, whether it's by ourselves or together with other people. There is something that can be done about any situation. So it's just about keeping that ego in check for today. Okay, so that's our message for today. I hope that it makes sense. Well, for today and whenever it applies. I always say, don't get too stuck on the dates, because whenever you hear the message, that's when you're meant to. But I hope the messages make sense. I hope they help. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you very much for your support, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. Take care.